This is This Hello, episode 6. We are back. We are happy. And let's get right into it. Today is all black. Tonight is all black. As we celebrate the Blackout Day. The Blackout Day that is happening Friday, January 30th, where we will be protesting, apparently, by not going to work, not spending, not going to school. And you have to ask yourself, what does that accomplish? What does that accomplish for the people part of this blackout? What does it accomplish for the people that this blackout is supposed to be against? So by telling people not to go to work, by telling people not to go to school, by telling people not to pay their bills, by telling people not to just stay home on January 30th to protest, whether it's ICE or the government or the system, it's just a huge logic fail. You have to understand that by not being part of the system, you're not fighting the system. It doesn't make sense. You're not going to work. You're not going to school. You're not taking care of the things you need to take care of because you're protesting. And at what point do we say these protests are ineffective? These protests come from a place of defiance. They come from a place of not wanting to understand why things happen. So no work, no school, no paying bills. I wonder what you do if your rent is supposed to be paid on the 1st, but you're in the blackout. You're in the blackout protest. Guess we'll see. See behind me? Biggest protest of all time. We'll see. Speaking of protests, students in high school are now protesting. It seems like the teachers' unions have their hand in getting these students to make their signs, to help them leave these school campuses and go outside and protest at an early age. These kids are protesting at 17, 16, 15, 14. But I won't blame them. I know I was protesting myself back in 2004, back in 2003, when George Bush was in office. See, these ICE protests, these ICE kind of being defiant towards federal authority, it's always been around. It's nothing new. History repeats itself. But one thing we have learned is that none of these activities are productive. None of these activities actually do anything to solve the issue. But students protesting, especially high school students, is pretty crazy, because these high school students still have parents, and these parents, I'd be willing to say a lot of them don't know. A lot of them are coming to pick them up right after school, thinking maybe they just got out of class, they just had a full day in school the way they intended them to. They dropped them off, maybe they took the bus. but they expected their child to get the education that their taxes cover. Instead, their students, their kids, their children are in the streets protesting. Tough time to be a parent. On another note, something a lot of people aren't talking about here in the state of Utah, which is going to be the main course, the main dish we're serving on tonight's episode 6, is the contaminated water in Utah. Now, there's a lot of conspiracies, there's a lot of hearsay, there's a lot of what ifs, but the facts represent that there are a lot of data centers here in the state of Utah, and those data centers need water to cool down the systems, to cool down their servers, to keep things cool. Now, the water that is taken is fresh water. You need fresh water to run a data center. And you also produce wastewater as a data center. And all that wastewater has to be put somewhere. It has to be kept somewhere. So, what is happening to Utah's fresh water, and what is happening to the data centers' wastewater? What's the correlation there? Are we to look at these different lakes, these different dams, these different places where water's held? Are we to look at them a little closer and say, is there a connection here with fresh water and wastewater? Is there a connection here between cities sending you notices in the mail that say your water might be contaminated, you might have lead pipes in your home? Is there a correlation? We're starting to see these data centers in small towns. Why aren't they in these bigger cities? What's keeping them from being there? What regulations are in place that say we can't have this here? What resources do they specifically need for those specific areas? And we have to start and think, what is the correlation between the inversion, all the chemicals that are in the air, all the pollution that's in the air, and the not newly founded, but the recently discovered radon that comes from the ground, from uranium, and goes into your pipes and creeps into your house as a gas. It gets in your house somehow. So the water's contaminated, radon's coming in, the data centers are taking the water. What's up with the water? I just made coffee a few minutes ago. What's up with the water? In other news, Adam22, the host of the No Jumper podcast, the world famous No Jumper podcast, recently stated all those Mexicans that voted for Donald Trump are really quiet right now, which is crazy. We love you, Adam. The Latino community loves you. Why would you say something like that? What gives you the right to speak? What gives you the right to tell us not to speak? It's crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Episode 6, This Hello. We'll see you next week. And we'll have a special episode dropping next week. Good night.